broadcast real quick with Katra Renault. I'm coming to you live with League of Legends. I'm actually, this is going to be part of the Strategic advantage. I'm not actually going to be doing a lot of gameplay or going over a lot of summoning and stuff like that. I'm actually just trying to pick out, even though the MLG is currently taking over, typically you can go ahead and you can click on the home page and watch what was going on. What I'm going to go ahead and do is give kind of a breakdown, because what I'm noticing is that a lot of people will give up because they'll take a look and, they'll die a few times and, they'll say, well, we can't win, and I mean, it'll be very early in the game and people will just really just give up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys kind of a breakdown of, what'll end up really happening, especially in a game. And I'm actually just popping in on one of my friends here. Let's see if I can't find him. I don't actually see his name, but that's okay. At any rate, really quick, let me go ahead and bring up the champion tab here. Right down here, you guys can kind of take a look. You have Vayne, Lee Sin, Warwick, Jaina, and Kassadin versus Kog'Maw, Hecarim, Pantheon, Shen, and Victor. Now, what happens here is that you have actually a really good balance. It's going to be fairly even, kind of through and through, going through. And as you can see, I mean, they've been playing for about 30 minutes. But I wanted to go over really a lot of what the champions are. If you take a look, Vayne can deal with Shen and also with Pantheon very easily, especially with the high hit points. Kog'Maw, I'll dissect the teams, kind of back and forth. That's not really a problem. Vayne can go ahead and kind of take them apart, and I wasn't really there for the champion selection. So Vayne can take those two apart. She can also take Hecarim apart if he also goes a little bit tankier, so he has a lot of hit points. And if he has a lot of hit points, it will actually make a really big difference, because Vayne's passive ability allows her after her Silver Bolt, after 3 hits, it takes a huge portion of the damage that's actually done. If you take a look, her Silver Bolt's level 5. It does 8%. 60 plus 8% of the target's maximum health is true damage. So, I mean, it's unresistible. And with a high attack speed, she'll just rip through enemy champions. And it's really kind of ridiculous about that. Now, let's go ahead and let's take a look at Lee Sin. Most people build Lee Sin as a massive tank that can deal out a lot of damage and can close gaps. Lee Sin is a great, can also crowd control, can slow, can knock people back, knock people, to where you need to go. Warwick can, jump in, stun, allow people to get close. Lee Sin can also provide, an awesome shield, and he can shield his allies, and be able to go ahead and protect them. Now, it's very hard and very difficult sometimes for Lee Sin to get in position. But again, he's a very tanky character. He can dish out a ton of damage. There's Kassadin. He gets taken down by Pantheon. Now, Warwick is a very tanky character. A lot of people like to play Warwick. He has a lot of durability. He can dish out a lot of damage. As he hits you, he can keep regenerating his life with the Spirit Visage. It gives him additional cooldowns and also increases healing effects, and also heals on himself. Jaina is an awesome pick, gives you additional movement speed, can provide stuns, knockaways, and she also has a heal as part of her ultimate. Kassadin is really annoying because he can jump in. His ultimate allows him to be able to jump in, silence, slow, and that pretty much is kind of game over for a lot of people. A lot of people they can't handle that. They can't handle the slow and the stun of Kassadin, which is okay. And it can be really hard to deal with him, especially late game, because he has such a high burst DPS. Now, what does end up happening for this team is that they do have a very high survivability rate. For the other team, they have a high survivability rate, but they don't have much poking. If they're going to engage, they're going to engage, and if they engage and they lose, like you guys just saw up over here, it's pretty much, lights out for them. Now, let's take a look at the other team. The other team, they have a little bit of poking. They have Victor that can do a little bit of long range. They have Kog'Maw that can do a lot of long range. Pantheon and Shen can keep the enemy champions off of them while they do the poking. Hecarim can provide a little bit of a stun, and he can also provide a little bit of a charge. He can run in, poke, and run out without really having to worry about a whole lot of damage. Pantheon can be tanky, and so can Shen. Shen can provide a long-range shield and teleport, and also a taunt, so that way, a lot of people will be able to take he can take some damage, and they can focus Vayne, because Vayne will be shooting Shen and not anybody else. So early game, let's take a look at the early game advantage. Early game advantage, Warwick, Lee Sin, and Vayne are going to have the early game advantage because they're going to have the mobility and they're going to have the survivability. Late game, you're going to have Shen because he's going to be able to teleport around the map. He's going to be able to control champions, make them attack him, and he also has his own shield, and he has a little bit of burst himself. Hecarim has the speed to be able to move around the map for backdoor kills, and also he has a wide AoE for burst. In late game, they have the range to be able to wear the enemy champions down. As you can see right here, all of these are going to be close range. They're all close range attacks except for Vayne. Jaina has to let her little whirlwind power up. Victor can just fire his little laser, and he can do damage to Vayne, he can do damage to Lee Sin. So, it's going to take a minute. And as you can see right there, Jaina can pop in with Kog'Maw, but Kog'Maw has such a long range, they can still continue to poke at the enemy champions. You have Hecarim, and you also have Warwick, that can go head-to-head. That's not really a problem. And again, Warwick has a very high survivability, he has a lot of hit points. He has the ability to take a beating. Right here, as you see with Vayne, all she needs is just 3 shots, and she can just start wiping out massive hit point champions. 1 shot isn't really all that bad. 2 shots, okay. That 3rd shot, not only is she going to get her basic damage, but that 3rd burst hit's going to hurt like crazy. And her ultimate gives her so much additional damage, it's not even funny. If you take a look at her ultimate, which is called the Final Hour, she gains 55 bonus attack. Her tumbling grants her stealth for a second, and she gains bonus movement speed. So she can track you down pretty quick, and it's really hard to deal with, especially if you're a high hit point champion. Let's take a look at Shen. He has almost 4,000 health. You take 8% of that, and we'll just say it's 10%. That's 400 damage is true damage that you can't prevent. Right there's Shen's taunt. He doesn't have his shield, but all of a sudden, you have the 2 champions of Warwick and Lee Sin that now have to focus on Shen. The early game advantage would typically go to the team on the left, would typically go to the blue team. The late game advantage would typically go to the team on the right or the purple team because they have the long range poking. The problem is that if the blue team is able to get up front and in the face without a turret for support, or if they're able to come up in full force, they're going to win. And that's something that you guys have to take a look at. You guys have to take a look at the mechanics. You have to take a look at the enemy champions. We can also see that there is an 11 kill difference, and there's also a 9,000 gold difference as well. But if we kind of take a look at the champions and how everything's set up, typically if everything's even Stevens, the purple team would typically have the higher durability. They would have the longer ability to be able to withstand and sustain, because they'd be able to go ahead and poke. They'd be able to wear them down. They'd be able to do a lot more damage later on. Had they had the turret, Kog'Maw could try and wear Lee and Jaina and Vayne down a lot more, as could Victor. And then when they were ready, they could charge in with Cog and Victor in the back, and then just be able to annihilate. But as the game would progress, and if everybody's level 18, if they can't wear the enemy team down, if they can't wear the blue team down, the blue team will just be able to absolutely annihilate the purple team, because the blue team has has a few more hit points. They have Lee Sin and Warwick. Warwick has a high sustain. Lee Sin has a high tank rating, and they also have more crowd control. Cass has his silence, and he also has his slow. Vayne can knock back, Lee Sin can knock back, and so can Jaina. Jaina can also knock up. Pantheon can stun, Hecarim can fear, and that's about all they have, and then Shen can taunt. That's pretty much about it. If Victor plays it right, Victor can stun, but other than that, that's really kind of about all that they can do. Kind of take a look at the strengths and the matchups when you guys are playing, and you guys can kind of determine where things are going to go. And figure out who, a lot of times it's just a single champion that can, that'll carry a team. For instance, let's take a look at it. Cass has 11 kills, Warwick has 11 kills, Warwick has 11 assists. I would probably say, if we take a look at the items, Cass right now would be the bigger threat. You'd want to focus Cass down, or try and get Cass to use his ultimate. Or corner Cass as they just did, and then start to press. And as we can see right here, the other team's caught, the blue team's caught out of position. They're able to chase down Lee Sin and Jaina. Not quite sure what's going to wind up happening here, but I'm not really, too familiar with the Pantheon champion, but that's okay. But again, Pantheon's a very, very strong champion, especially in the end. He can dish out a lot of damage, he can take a lot of damage. Victor, he can be useful, but he can also be a very, very hindrance. So, it really depends. Warwick has a mighty, mighty speed boost, and he's a very versatile champion as well. And as you see right there, he was just able to annihilate that turret without very many problems. And he's able to really escape quite well too. The Spirit Visage does give him a small speed boost. So, if you take a look at the, just kind of at the breakdown, it's a fairly even fight. If I would say, if it was even Steven for kills and things like that, I would probably say, if it was even Steven for a fight, probably say the purple team with Pantheon and Jhin would actually have a better chance, because they have the ability to poke, and if they use their poking ability right, they'd actually win. So it really depends. It really depends on what ends up happening. So we'll see. But I'm not going to stay here for the whole game. I just wanted to kind of go ahead and go over that for you guys. So I am going to go ahead and try and find some other games of friends here. We're going to go ahead and we are going to quit, because as you guys can see, they're actually doing the MLG stuff. So nobody on from the Fragged Nation. Alright, let's take a look at this matchup here. On the blue team, you have Warwick, Swain, Soraka, Kayle, and Rammus. A lot of survivability, not a whole lot of damage. On the bottom, for the purple team, you have Alistair, Fizz, Mundo, Trist, and X. Oh, looks like this game's actually just recently started as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on here. Looks like that Rammus is their jungle, and who's the jungle? And Mundo's the jungle over here. Looks like they were able to take out Warwick, so Warwick's a very strong top laner, but he can be very easily ganked. Looks like that he has Flash and Exhaust, so I'm not 100% sure what ends up happening. Really depends. But alright, so we're gonna go ahead and let's dissect the champion selection here. Rammus is probably going to go ahead and be the tank on this team. Mundo's going to be the tank on their team. The junglers can typically be the tanks, or they can be, pretty heavy DPS. The supports are going to be Kayle and Alistair. Or no. Soraka and Kayle. That's interesting. For this little fight up here, I don't know. I mean, that's interesting because even though that Kale can do a lot of range damage, it does cost her a little bit of mana, but you know, it would really depend. Oh, the ultimate from Kale saves Rammus' butt. That's awesome. Sorry, just kind of enjoying the game here. They have a very high durability team. Alright. I don't know if I would have sacrificed myself for that. Alright. So let's go ahead and dissect champion selection here. I don't really know if I want to do that. Alright. At any rate, for the middle, we have Swain versus X. X is a very strong champion. He has a really long range. And since X has a long range, he's going to be able to outrange Swain, which, judging by probably the champion selection, it looks like that Warwick was first pick, X and Triss, then Swain and Soraka, then these two, then okay. So, I don't know. One of the major issues is that right now the Swain's team, the blue team, they don't actually have a ranged AD. Even though that Kale can be a little bit of range, she's not always a constant range. She has to always use mana in order to push the range, which is okay. It's not necessarily a bad thing. They have a high durability rate with Soraka. Soraka has let's see, what are her spells? She has her ultimate, and then she also has her other basic heal. Her basic heal does heal for quite a bit. Right now, her basic heal is healing for 290, which is not really all that bad. Looks like that Alistair's going to try and finish Kale off, but they have 3 heals between the two of them right now. They have Kale's heal, they have Soraka's heal, they have Soraka's ultimate. Looks like that X is going to come down and try and help assist Alistair. I'm not 100% sure if... oh, wow, Ali is going to live. That's actually really surprising about that. Typically, Alistair... I don't know. That was actually a really good play by X, even though that X did spend his ultimate for that. Alistair's an awesome support. He can do a lot of crowd control. But, again, they have a high survivability rate, but they don't have a lot of damage output. Warwick won't do a lot of damage output unless he gets Moderate's Razor, which can be very, very easily countered by just getting a little bit of magic resist, which is not really a problem. Granted, you may sacrifice some damage, but you're going to live a lot longer. Soraka can do a lot of damage output if he builds correctly so can Kale. It all depends on, again, it all depends on build. Rammus is just a massive tank, but the problem with Rammus right now is that the only real person that he's going to affect is going to be Tristana. Not necessarily the pick that I would have taken just based on their team composition, because it looks like this is his last pick. Granted, yes, he can taunt, but really the only one that he has to worry about is really going to be Tristana. Because, I mean, if you take a look at Mundo, Mundo does, he does a little bit of damage, and I mean, it's you have magic, you have a little bit of attack, but I mean, really, he's here to, Mundo smash. That's really about all he's here for. So I don't really know if Rammus was, necessarily the best pick for that. But let's go ahead and let's talk about early game advantage. Warwick versus Fizz. Warwick's going to be able to survive against Fizz a lot longer without ganks, because he has the natural sustain. Fizz is going to be able to do a little bit more poking at Warwick, so that's going to depend. That's really hard to call. Fizz can do a lot more damage to Warwick in the end, but Warwick can also do a lot more damage. Warwick can also live longer than Fizz. So it depends. I don't know if Fizz is actually going to be. I don't know if Fizz is going to be able to live through that, just because Warwick can't survive under a turret. There's no Warwick still close, just because he has the his little marker on him, Bloodswin. But Warwick's going to go ahead and head on back. Smart move. If we take a look at the middle, if we take a look again, Swain versus X, Swain can be very strong versus X. It's just that since X has the range on Swain, it's going to be very difficult for Swain to be able to close it. Swain can do a lot of damage to X, but X can, poke at a very far range, because X's range can extend, all the way over to here. Swain can only extend to right about here. Now, with Swain's ultimate, he can pop in and out, and he has just an absolute ton of sustain. Now, it does look like that Soraka's going for a very competitive and a very aggressive build. Swain does pop into his ultimate form, and he's going to be able to trap Mundo. So we're going to kind of find out what happens here. Looks like that they do pick up the kill on Soraka, and it looks like that they'll probably wind up picking up the... no. Kale comes to the rescue. And I mean, as you guys can see, Mundo is just a beast with hit points. I mean, he has the Warmog armor, but he's just an absolute beast with hit points regardless. He has very high regeneration rate, a very high survival rate. So he can be a great jungler. He can pop out for kills. He can save you. He has a natural flow. When he throws his little meat cleaver at you. I personally actually don't have the cleaver, or I don't actually have Mundo as a champion. I do have actually Warwick and Fizz. Now, for the supports, for Soraka and Alistar provides a lot of crowd control. Not a lot of heal, but a lot of crowd control. Soraka provides a lot of heals. Early game Tristana can potentially just bully Kale and Soraka to no end if she just pokes right. But towards the very end, there's not going to be a whole lot that she's going to be able to do, because Soraka and Kale will just be able to out-survive her and Alistar. Now let's go ahead and go into the mid game. The mid game, the purple team is going to have way more damage than the blue team. As you guys can currently see, the purple team has a lot more kills, and also late game. The only thing early game that's going to happen is that the blue team is going to be able to have the advantage because they have a little bit more survivability. Late game, purple team has a lot more. The purple team is actually going to have a lot more survivability. The purple team is going to have a lot more damage. The blue team has almost no damage. They're only going to have Swain and maybe Warwick. Warwick decided to go with End instead of going for the Blood Razor, which I would have gone for the Blood Razor, just because the Blood Razor is way more effective, because it's going to be dealing a portion of your the hit points as magic damage. Now again, it can be very easily resisted, but that's okay. That's going to be how you're going to be able to combat this team. That's going to be really your only saving grace. Kale's going to be able to dish out a little bit of damage, but they don't have a ranged AD. So let's say for instance, the shoe's on the other foot. Let's say for instance, blue team had 26 kills and purple team only had 11. If the purple team would be able to hold in, the purple team would most definitely win the late game battle, just because they would be able to push out way more damage than the blue team. Because the blue team, their two damage dealers are going to be Swain and Kale, and that's it. Maybe Warwick late game. Other than that, there's not going to be much that they can do. The damage dealers for the purple team are going to be X, Tris, and Fizz. It just comes down to just really kind of a sheer DPS race of who's going to have the most damage and who's going to be able to deal the most damage. Right here's a perfect example of damage output. Yeah, the blue team can survive, but if you survive long enough, if you can survive, that's great, but, if they kill your top two damage dealers, and, if they kill your top two damage dealers, and you've only killed one of theirs, they're going to eventually just wind up, able to kill you. At this point, I don't know if Mundo's actually going to be able to live. Well, yeah, looks like he lives. Straka's giving up the chase. Good old X and his stun and killing Alistar. That's awesome. And like I said, we all just saw Mundo at a very low hit point count. He only had maybe a bubble or two left, and right now he's at his pretty much maximum hit points. Mundo has his ultimate, Sadism. He regenerates 50% of his maximum health over 12 seconds. Additionally, he gets 25% movement speed. I mean, that right there is just an absolutely ridiculous ultimate, and it costs him 20% of his current health. Okay, I mean, cool. He has, I mean, he has what? 5 hit points left. Okay, 20% cost me a hit point, and I get 50%. Little overpowered, but that's, it's an ultimate. Okay. But I do know that, I mean, it has saved Mundo, in multiple games in the past. And if you take a look at Tristana, deals 400 plus 0 magic damage, and then knocks the surrounding units at 800 distance. I mean, that's not bad. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at Sid's ultimate. I think right now is a little, it's a little overpowered and a little underpowered depending on scenario and situation. So, I mean, as you guys can see right now, their survivability, yeah, they have survivability for the blue team, but they have no damage. And again, guys, say for instance it's on the other foot, take a look at the team, take a look at the team concept, take a look at, take a look at not only your team concept, but take a look at, what the other team has and what the other team's trying to do. Granted, yeah, they may be able to go ahead and take away the late game, or take away the early game, but, you may be able to win the late game, and if you can win the late game, take it. League of Legends is not just about, one stage, it's about multiple. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at another game here real quick, and, hopefully I'll be able to, showcase just, another point here. Let's take a look at this game. Alright, let's take a look at this. You have Vayne, Sion, Teemo, Swain, and Aurelia versus Shyvana, Vigor, Shen, GP, and Darius. Oh. This is kind of an epic matchup. This is something that has much promise. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at this one. So just give me a quick second, guys. Gonna go ahead and grab a drink of water real fast. So bear with me here. Alright. Looks like the game's actually pretty far in. Alright, guys, so let's go ahead and let's kind of let's break down the teams. Vayne's actually a really good pick, especially for, what they currently have. The reason being is because Shyvana, Shen, and Gangplank can be very, very tanky. Even Darius can be very tanky. Vayne's Silver Bolt abilities will just absolutely demolish both Shen, Gangplank, and also Darius. The problem with their team comp is that hit points aren't going to save them. Neither is armor, because Vayne's damage is just straight up true damage. So I don't know where Vayne was picked, just based kind of on the load screen. She was picked first. I wouldn't have gone with a lot of really tanky champions. I would have gone with a lot more crowd control with that, just based off of picks. But again, I'm just doing kind of champion breakdown for you guys. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at Sion. Sion provides a lot of crowd control. He can provide a lot of burst damage. Let's see, Sion looks like he was support? I guess. I have no idea. Looks like that Sion was providing support, just either support or top based on level. He might have been jungle. I don't see anybody with Smite though, that's the issue. So Cyan might have been jungle, so it really depends. Alright. So, but, you know, Cyan has a stun, he has a shield. The current build that he's going is an AD Scion. Most people will build AP Scion, just because with the AP Scion, it provides a huge burst damage. It provides a huge burst damage, the shield's a pain in the ass to deal with, and he, you know, really hurts. I mean, if we take a look at this, Darius is trying to get away. I wouldn't go that way, Darius. You're dead. Yep. Sometimes I would actually just typically head down and try and go through their jungle because I know they, you know, I don't know. That's just me. It could just be because I'm a spectator and I just do really goofy things. Teemo's actually really great. He's a pretty fast AP. He looks like he's building AP. Swain's great, especially for middle. He has a high sustain. His ultimate's a little overpowering because his ultimate does heal him. I mean, if you take a look at that, he toggles it. Each Raven deals, you know, 94 damage and heals Swain for 75% of the damage that's dealt against champions and 25 against minions. I mean, come on. A little overpowered, but whatever. Then you have Aurelia. Aurelia can be a very high sustain champion. She can dish out just a ton of damage later on. Now, let's go ahead and I would have tried to juke through other bushes right over here and tried to have my speed burst do that. Sion's dead. Yeah, I saw that coming. Now, let's go ahead and let's kind of take a look at what's going on here with Shen's team. You have Shyvana, Shen, Gangplank, Darius, and Vigor. You have absolutely very little range on this team. Granted, the only range that you have Teemo and Vayne as range on the other team. Teemo and Vayne are very, very squishy, so it's going to be very, very hard for them to be able to do, for you to be able to actually do a whole lot of damage. Wow. Was not really expecting Teemo to die, but okay. Darius got overconfident, and Darius is building a really weird build. Well, I don't build Darius like that, but whatever. At any rate, sorry, I digress. Let me go ahead and get back on topic. So, right now, Vayne is the hard counter to their team. Now, Vayne is the heart of their team, but with Shen, they can shut Vayne down pretty hard. If Shen can get in there, taunt Vayne, and they focus Vayne, it's going to be almost game over because they have a high hit point team and a high durability team. Vigor can provide stuns, and Vigor can take Swain down in just a matter of just a matter of probably 2 or 3 hits. And I mean, and with Shyvana, she can provide a very high amount of burst damage. She can provide, she can provide a little bit of a knockback. Gangplank provides just an absolute high amount of burst damage. And right there with Vigor's ultimate, Vigor just absolutely demolished Swain for that kill. Late game, it's probably going to go to the purple team, as you guys can already see. We're getting into the later game now. The purple team will wind up coming out on top in the late game because they have the high durability. They have 4 high durability champions: Darius, Gangplank, Shen, and Shyvana, all of which can build for a very high-powered, high DPS build. Vigor can deal very well with Sion, Teemo, and also Swain, so that they don't really have to worry about those champions. Shyvana, Shen, Gangplank, and Darius can take a beating. All of them can take a beating. And I think Darius is just trying to bait the other champions. I have no idea. I think that for Darius, I think he's purposely trying to die. At any rate, like I said, late game can go one of 2 ways. Late game can go depending. Late game can either go to the blue team with Vayne, or late game can go to late game can go to the blue team's Bane, or late game can go to the purple team with the high durability. Now, right there you just saw Vigor was able to absolutely annihilate Vayne. If I was Vayne, I'd go ahead and I'd pick up a little bit of MR just to make sure that, you know, Vigor couldn't one-shot me, because Vigor would really be my only concern. Because he's the only one that can close the distance and really deal a whole lot of damage to me that would be able to get through Scion, Aurelia, and Flame. And depending on how the game plays out, I would basically Vayne their keystone for the blue team. At this point in time, if I was the purple team, I would almost assume a win, just based at the fact that, you know, again, they have the advantage, they have the champion advantage. If, you know, the shoe was on the other foot, that, you know, let's say, for instance, you know, the purple team was losing, things like that, you would still have hope, because, again, you have the high durability champion. The only person you have to focus on is Vayne. You take Vayne down, you take Teemo down, their entire team falls. And both Vayne and Teemo are incredibly squishy. And since they are both incredibly squishy, it's just going to take a few hits. Just have, you know, try and position Vigor, and you can, you know, right there, I didn't see the kill, but, you know, if you just position Vigor, you know, Vayne bumped, and protect Vigor. Hopefully we'll be able to actually see a really good team fight. Now, I mean, as you can see, just with, you know, Shin and Shyvana, they deal so much damage. Even with Gangplank, you know, they're going to deal so much damage. And, because, I mean, Gangplank has a very high crit rate. Gangplank does a lot of burst damage. Gangplank's not going to be able to, might be able to get away. Yeah, looks like he's going to be able to get away. Because I know Teemo's not going to be able to catch up. Darius is trying to wait to ambush Teemo. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I wouldn't really be hiding there, Darius. It's a really bad idea. But whatever. Huh? Maybe he will get the kill. Ow! Yeah, and he's gonna die to Vayne. Oh! And that's also another reason why you don't typically want to go head-to-head with Gangplank, especially without armor, because Gangplank, again, has a very high crit rating, and his, where'd Gangplank go? Let's see, there it is. Because his party ability hurts. Right now he's doing almost, let's see, 316, and if he crits, let's see, he has Atma, so 3, so he's doing 600 damage minus armor with his crit. He doesn't have any armor pen yet, which is bad Gangplank. He might have armor pen on Shrews, which is okay. So, and the really bad thing is I really wish you could actually see armor pen stats. That'd be so awesome. But at any rate, like I said, as you guys can see, I mean, the purple team is just slowly pulling away just with the kills. And again, I would put more money on the purple team just because they have the durability. They have the durability. They have a little bit more crowd control. And Darius is still slightly OP, even though he does kind of suck. The cornerstone and Aurelia quitting, yeah, that's going to be bugging. The cornerstone for the blue team is going to be Vayne, period. Vayne's going to be the only one that's going to be able to take down Darius, Gangplank, and Shyvana. Just because with her high burst damage, with her silver bolts, she's going to be able to deal that 8% of damage. You know, it's not going to take very much. I've done something very mean, evil, and vindictive on Vayne to combine her silver bolts with a Modric's Blood Razor. So it's going to take less than 20 shots to kill you. And at 20 shots at 2.5 seconds, it's going to take me less than 10 seconds to kill you. So, let's see, 10 seconds. I think you against the wall, you're stunned for 2. 3 with strength. You know, that's a lot of math. That's hurting my head and causing the migraine to come back. So I'll actually have the math at my next cast for you guys. And like I said, it's just a very mean, very wicked way to go, especially if you combine Mother's Blood Razor with all of the additional attack damage and stuff that you have with it. Pretty much basically it will probably turn into a 2 or 3 shot hit kill for Bane. You know, with some moderates and with how much damage, burst damage that you're taking. So we are going to go ahead and leave that game. But again, if you guys take a look at it, if you guys really do take a look at it, you guys can, really see where a lot of, team breakdown comes into play. So, you know what, I am going to go ahead and I am going to try and get a game in for you guys, because I did not do the strategic advantage for you guys last time. So, on Saturday, and I missed last Saturday, and I do apologize. So I am going to go ahead, and I'm not actually going to open the MLG stream. My bad. Yeah. So. Alright. Oh, hey, look, I'm actually first. Let's see, we're going to go with our standard ban of champions. We're going to ban Shen because I hate Shen. And I love when people just, they love to call their positions. Let's see, my typical bans are, typically Shen, Shaco, and Kassadin. Why am I not finding Cass? I don't think they own Kassadin. They don't own Kassadin. That's awesome. World ban... I Can Never Die. I don't know. Let's see. And we'll ban... we'll ban Draven. Sure, why not? I love how everybody loves to call their, I just love how everybody just loves to call where they're going, and it's like, I'm actually first pick, so, I could go wherever I want. Let's see, jungling, they got bottom, somebody call mid. So yeah, that really just leaves top. Who do I want to top with? Do I really want to top with Darius? I want to top with Akali. You know what, we'll go Aki top. So I'm gonna go ahead and go Aki top. So we'll kind of go from there, see what ends up happening. And they're gonna go with a Heimer. Interesting. Let's see. Heimer and Singed. It's gonna be hard, but Singe is gonna be... They're both gonna be melee, so it's gonna be a little hard for it. So, right now they have their tank and they have their mid, which is going to be interesting. Let's see. So Hemer's going to be able to repair their turrets. Singed is going to be halfway decent top. LeBlanc's going to be able to absolutely destroy Hemer. I don't quite know how that's going to work for that. Varus for their AD, which is going to be okay. This is going to be a really interesting matchup because we don't even have a tank. Okay, Darius is going to be jungle. Blitz is going to be support. Vayne's going to be bottom. Vayne, I don't really agree with the pick on that, but that's okay. He's going to be their final pick. LeBlanc is a good counter to Hemer. Also a good counter to Singed, because Singed can go very heavy AP, and LeBlanc can wipe them out very, very easily and quickly. LeBlanc can wipe out both Singed, Hemer, and also Zilean. Zilean can provide a lot of damage, but he's also very, very squishy too. They have 3 very squishy targets. Darius can be very squishy as well. I have a feeling that Darius is just going to be jungle. Vayne's going to be able to take care of Singed quite easily, and I mean, we have enough range to keep them at bay. This is going to be an interesting matchup, guys. I really don't quite understand. I don't really know what's going to wind up happening here. I'm taking Akali kind of a massive damage burst spec, but I'm wondering. This is going to be really interesting because 1, 2, they have 3 AP, maybe 4 that it's going to be based off of, so it's going to be really interesting. Because Akali's kind of a mix. You can go either AP or you can go mix AP, or you can go a mix of you can go AP or you can go AD. Most people really do a mix of that just for her abilities. Yeah, Darius is going to be jungle, so do need to be very careful with that. Singed is going to be top. Singed has Ignite. Hemer's got the ability to make a super minion, promote. Zilean's going to be support. Odd team. Gotta admit, odd team. Gotta admit, very, very odd team. We'll see what happens from here. Jeez. Never seen anything like this. Never seen anything like this team. So we're gonna see what happens, guys. I don't really think that I've actually done kind of a really haven't. I'm gonna go over a little bit of Akali. Akali is actually a really versatile champion. She used to be a very popular ban. She can close distances very, very quickly. She has a very high amount of burst damage. Champions like Varus, Zilean, and Hemer could go down very, very quickly. Her Q ability, she jumps in with her R, hits you with her Q, then hits you with just a normal hit, and that's typically 75% of your hit points. Then she smashes you with her R again, and you're pretty much dead. There's a lot of things that happen, and that can happen. Looks like that we're waiting on Singed right now. That can happen here. So we're gonna find out really what's going to go on. Versus Singed, I know that he's going to be very heavy mana based when we first start off. I am going to try and get him to waste quite a bit of his mana, but I'm also going to try and do a lot of last hitting, and I'm going to try and have him force me back closer towards my turret so I don't have to worry too much about the ganks. KO can jungle, but I'm not really 100% too sure too really sure on that. Let's see, twin disciplines, 20 ability power, 8% bonus magic damage. Change the health on Durham's blade, used to be 100. I must have missed it in the patch notes, so it's okay. This will be interesting. Like I said, Ockley is... Mark of the Assassin. So let's go over Ockley really quick. She is an energy-based, which basically means that she's not mana-based, which she's kind of unlimited. Basically, what ends up happening is I can mark a target, I deal 45. If I hit them, they take another 45 damage, and I also restore some energy. This is great for last hit. It works kind of like Gangplank's Parlay, or any kind of long-ranged Q, so it can keep me out of Singed Poison, out of the range of that. Since it is energy-based, I don't have to really worry about mana. My typical build for Ockley involves a little bit of speed, but it also involves a very high AT. They do have her getting the Trinity Force, they have her getting Gunzo's Rage Blade, but a lot of what I really like to get on Ockley is I really like to be able to get a lot of versatility. I like to get the sustain, and I'm kind of a sustain player, to be able to do a lot of long-lasting, outlasting, my opponents. Nice. I did not expect Kale to die with that, but that's okay. With this, I'm actually going to head back and grab some boots and then head back out. It was nice to go ahead and grab First Blood, but I did not really want to lose, some creep score to Kale, but that's okay. We're going to see kind of what happens from here. I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen with Singed. So again, Singed doesn't actually have any sustain. He only has a health pot, which is okay with me because since he only has a health pot, any damage that I do to him basically means that it's free hits. And he only has a limited amount of mana, and I have Spell Steal. shit. That's what happens, because Darius comes up with a gank and Singe ends up catching me, so that's okay though. That's absolutely a-okay. Now that I know that Darius is going to be top and actually going to try and gank, I'm going to buy a ward. And with the ward, I'm going to be able to go ahead and prevent Singe from coming up, and I'm just going to last hit. So, that's okay though. Each jungle has got a kill, and also an assist. Actually, Singe got more. But, again, I'll actually be able to go ahead and push Singe around quite a bit more than he actually thinks. Because, again, later on, I'll actually have a lot more mobility than he will. And, with Darius, unfortunately, what's going to wind up happening with Darius is that, again, they're not going to have a lot of mobility. They're not going to have a lot of mobility with me, anyways. Even though, again, Singe may be level 6, he's not going to have the ability to push me around because he's not going to have the sustain. And right now, I have him right where I want him, because, again, Singe relies on actually having to get close to, people. And since he actually has to rely on actually having to get close to people, I can actually go ahead and, use that against him. But unfortunately, he can use all this against me as well, because he does have the poison, and he has the ability to regenerate very quickly. And there's not a whole lot that I can do about that. Singe left the lane. It's odd. Not 100% sure why Singe has actually left the lane. Unfortunately, what happens sometimes though is that he may be a wandering top, and if he's actually a wandering top, it can actually prove to be actually really fatal, even for me. Fuck.
Well, that's the bad thing. That's the bad part about being slightly underpowered for hit points. The fact is that since there's a lot of hit points, you can take a lot of turret shots. Oh well, I win my lane. My team picks up a lot of kills. The only thing that they're able to do is potentially just farm me, which is kind of actually odd because typically you don't just farm one champion. But actually, just taking a look at this Darius, it's actually kind of amusing. tried a little bit more. Oh well. And you got a few extra hits in on me. I was trying to run around in the shroud. And I took a turret hit. Oh well. Kind of odd though. Ooh, that was a nice shot by Blitz. The really funny thing is that Darius has a lot of extra power on him. And he's got a lot of extra hit points that I don't have. I'll take a cheap kill. Oh well, payback. I can't really take Singed on because he's got 2,700 hit points, he's got a lot of MR, and he's still got a lot of mana, and he's actually doing a lot of damage. I haven't really seen a Singed do that much damage in a while. Oh well. I haven't played Akali in so long, it's kind of funny. LB counter team pretty hard, but Heimer's actually still a really good champion pick. Heimer's not always necessarily the best pick in a ranked game, but he's still a very powerful champion. He can bring turrets back from death. I mean, I've seen a Heimer, I've seen like this middle turret here at like 2 hit points, and I've seen just, a champion push back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And all of a sudden, that turret's back to full. Granted, yeah, it can take a really long time for that to happen, but, it still works. So, it just really all depends, I guess, I can't get my targeting right. Oh well. He hit me with his ulti. I just can't get my targeting right. 200 more hit points than I do, and he's got his lifesteal up. Yes. Should have been able to kill him. It's odd. Oh well. Like I said, it's kind of odd sometimes because, matchups like that, not only did I level, but I should have been able to go ahead and actually just, destroy him. Oh well. Unfortunately, I know what got me, it's his bleed. It's his bleed that gets me. Because I don't have a bleed effect. He's got a lot of armor pen too, just his base armor pen. That's right. Yeah. Oh well. Live and learn, right? Go for the Trinity Force. Ooh, Lich Bang. Yeah, it's all really going to depend on. What to do. like they got Singed cornered up there, but right now the dragon's going to be way more important because the dragon's going to be worth 150 gold to everybody. Darius is down. Singed is going down. He's actually being able to be saved by Zillion. Don't know if I want to turret dive Zillion though. Screw it. We're going for it. Yeah, nothing we can do. I gotta head back because they're too strong and I need to buy anyway. Alright, I think now it's time for the Lich Bane. Now that I've got a little bit of speed behind me, I'm gonna do the Lich Bane because once all of my abilities start firing off, I'll be able to put a little bit more power behind them. Unfortunately, I was actually unable to go ahead and put a lot of power behind them before, but since they are pushing, ooh, I'm actually surprised Singed was actually able to escape. Yeah, we can't dual Baron. That's not a good idea. Yeah, Baron's just a little OP. We can't, might be able to duo Baron had I had actually had a little bit, few more hit points and a little bit more life steal. But Zillion. Try and knock this out. There's Forest. And as you guys can see, Oxley is very, very, very adept at taking people on one-on-one. One major problem with Oxley is that her burst damage is very, very high. Right now, I believe if I was actually able to get Darius in a one-on-one scenario, I really doubt that
he'd actually be able to overpower me anymore. There's so much damage that she can pump out, and there's so much damage that she can do. It's very difficult. It's very difficult for her to actually be controlled, especially even with Baron. And then if you throw Lichbane on top of that, her ability power starts getting added to her attack power. And now would be the time to retreat, because they're just going to start gaining in power, especially with the turret. You don't want to waste a Baron buff, because we are a little bit down. I personally don't think that trying to go in there in order to overpower them is necessarily the best idea. I personally would like to play it safe, but they are able to pick up a few extra kills. But let's just hope that Blitz can get out okay. And as we all come over to Blitz in order to try and help. Varus gets away with just a minuscule amount of hit points, because I'm not going to take Singed one-on-one. I can't. There's no way that I have enough power to. Well, guys, that's my first game of Zuckler in a while, so hope you guys enjoyed. Take care. If you guys have any questions, throw them up. We're trying to work on a stream for you guys, so let us know, fraggednation.com. Take care, have a good night, and hopefully this was a little bit of, informative for you guys, so have a good night, guys. This is Katra Renault, signing off.